the challenges don't actually become easier. They become larger, don't they? What does change is our ability to be able to cope and to be able to manage them grows so much that those problems now seem very small and tiny as we're continuing to grow.
Is your current success putting a lot of demands on you? If you're good at what you do, and you are, then everyone wants you. But that's no way to scale. If you're delivering spectacular results, you should be commanding higher fees, working with only the best clients. Welcome to the Hands Off CEO podcast, where world-class agency owners and consultants learn how to fully monetize their expertise and scale profits by doing less. Here's your host, Mandi Ellefson.
Hello, this is Mandi Ellefson, host of the Hands Off CEO podcast. Last month, we had my favorite retreat that we've ever had. And we had our clients fly out to Southern Utah. We were right by Zion National Park, if you're familiar with that. It's about 2 hours north of the Grand Canyon, if you're more familiar with that area. So just this absolutely gorgeous place. These red rocks everywhere, just all surroundings. There's mountains. It's just the most gorgeous, beautiful place. And I live 5 minutes away from where we held the retreat. So I get to live here in this beautiful place that we had this retreat. And what we like to do during this retreat is to have experiences that really push us as leaders, to help us to really become the next version of ourselves, to become a different leader. And the last podcast episode, I talked about the different milestones we go through in our growth, and specifically our personal experiences that drive that. And also how the goals that we reach and our ability to reach those goals and how long it takes and, all the circumstances that surround that really comes down to who we are as leaders. So who we are becoming. And that's what we are doing as the intention of the retreat, is shifting who we are as leaders. There's also, business strategy and things that we talk about along the way, but we look forward to have experiences that are fun, that are enjoyable. Like we went and did some hiking in Zion National Park, and we had some other fun things. There were a lot of opportunities for tribe members to connect with each other and to, talk shop and get perspective and feedback. But more than anything, really have that community and that tribe to be able to have that support. But one of the exercises that I decided to do this time was ice bath experience. And I don't know if you're familiar with Wim Hoff and his work with ice bath. I said for years I would never do it. We had done Wim Hoff breathing and meditation for a number of retreats in the past. And it's something that I love, but I said, nope, the ice bath thing, not for me. I hate the cold. I don't mind if I'm really bundled up. I actually grew up in Canada, and I've done quite a bit of skiing up in the Canadian Rockies, which is cold. If you've ever been to Lake Louise, Sunshine, Banff area, it is cold. It is a different type of skiing than maybe the skiing in Colorado or Utah. But I don't like the feeling of being cold. It's painful for me. I might shake and cause my body to actually be sore afterwards. So I decided to choose something that I would find really uncomfortable, because there's a lot of things that we could have brought in as experiences that might have been a stretch for other people in the tribe, but not for myself. And I really wanted to be in that experience with them. And I figured that I probably would have the hardest time out of anyone doing that exercise. So if I could do it, then anyone could do it. So anyway, we decided to do the ice bath experience. And before it, there was a meditation that we do. And normally I love doing meditations, but I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach. I was so nervous about not only doing the ice bath experience, but also looking like a total idiot in front of, 15 other people that I really want them to respect me as the leader of the tribe. Anyway, we go on to go do the ice bath, and I knew it would be the hardest for me. So I was one of the first ones that went in, and here I am standing in this ice cold water. And he says, Ryan, who was leading the ice bath experience. And by the way, he's well-trained. He's hiked all these peaks in the Himalayas in shorts and a t-shirt. And he's very well-trained, and he even has a medical background as well. So we were in good hands, and making sure that we were doing this safely, by the way. and under very good oversight with someone who knows what they're doing. But here I am standing in this cold ice bath, and he says, okay, sit down slowly, calmly. And I'm going and I'm sitting down slowly and calmly. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And here I am saying this to myself. I can't do this. It was a reflex. Then he's just like, just breathe through it. You're okay. Breathe. And then I slowed down about 30 seconds. And I was able to calm my breath and just breathe. And what happened in that moment is that I went from fight or flight, where I was telling myself this story in my mind that I can't do this. I can't do this. And I shifted from a place of calm. I shifted from a place of surrender. And I went from suffering to surrender, where I sat there, and actually towards the end of it, I was starting to smile, and I was really feeling the warmth on my forehead, and it really started to feel good, actually. And at that point, it didn't feel cold anymore. And it was a completely different experience. Now, the ice didn't change. The circumstances around me didn't change. But what changed was me. What changed was how I saw the experience in the situation. And this is very much like the challenges in our company as we're scaling. The reality is, as we're scaling our companies, the challenges don't actually become easier. They become larger, don't they? What does change is our ability to be able to cope and to be able to manage them grows so much that those problems now seem very small and tiny as we're continuing to grow. The thing about it is, as we're growing, we're experiencing these times of challenge, these times of stress and frustration and feeling like things aren't working. And we can sit within that frustration, that story of what's going on, or we can create a new story. We can create a new reality, and we can go into a mode where the circumstances don't necessarily change, but the way that we see it changes, and allows us to have a different experience in it and also shift it a lot faster. So there's an opportunity here for us, and a big lesson that we started to become the theme throughout the whole retreat. Actually, this was one of the first things that we did in the retreat as, a great way to kick things off. And it helps us to be able to look at ourselves and say, how am I responding in this moment? How am I responding and reacting to fear or to this other hard challenge that's showing up? And one of the things that we have found over the years with consulting with hundreds of consulting agencies and successful CEOs is that people tend to react in three ways. There's three different ways. And this is actually something that we put together in our onboarding when we bring in a client. We want to help remind them this, because really how we react to fear that comes up as we're continuing to level up in our business makes the difference between the experience that we have within it and also with the results that we have. So we find that there's three different ways. One of them is to react. It's to fight, it's to resist. And really, this is what most people do. Most people show up in a way where, and this is the least evolved way of showing up. And we all do this at times, but it's a very reactive way of like, well, I don't like this. And you try to fight against it. The next piece is flight. And this is where you're avoiding. And this is a really common one that we see in our tribe, because the reality is that our agency owner CEOs are coming in at a place that sometimes they're working 50, 60, 70 or more hours per week. They're pretty overloaded, and they know how to generate more growth in their company, but they don't know how to do that without it being at the expense of their personal life, without it being at the expense of more stress and just more stuff that comes along with scaling. And they're really looking for a way out of that. But the only way out of it is through it. And a really common thing that we see is that the flight is avoiding, getting really busy and going and getting too busy to actually do the physical and internal work to be able to free yourself up. I mean, here's the thing is that when we work together with clients, the first thing that we do with them is we help them free up 10 extra hours per week and to use that to invest in time in growing their company. But in order to do that, it takes a little bit of time. It takes some time to go through our program. There's a couple hours there to fill out an assessment, to have some reflection of what's really going on, to track your time, to do some of these things that are rather uncomfortable to do and to look at when you're working 60 hours plus a week. That's challenging to do. And the easiest thing to do is avoid that. There's fight, there's flight. And then there is the third one, which is to really be in the place of owning it. That is the place where you can really create the most growth, where you can really take full responsibility for everything that's showing up and use that as an opportunity to shift things. And the word responsible actually means ability to respond. So it's actually one of my favorite words, because being responsible allows us to be able to create anything that we want and to be able to do it on our own terms. And proactively creating what you want, observing what's showing up in the moment and observing how we are showing up for that, and being very conscious about how we want to be in that moment. When that team member comes flying through our office door, either virtually or physically, how are we going to respond? When they come in there and they're asking in this panic, what do we need to do with this situation? How should we respond to this client? Are you going to give them all the answers and immediately go and solve that problem? Or are you going to stop, take a breath, and really choose how you're going to show up in that moment, and really being present about how you're going to be there to coach your team through coming up with the answers on their own versus just reacting in the situation and like saving the day, like is the common thing that feels comfortable. So this is really an opportunity for us to observe and feel into how we actually want to show up. But to be able to show up the way we want to, we have to observe how we are showing up in the moment. And that's one of the things that I loved about the ice bath experience. In that moment, there was nothing but the present moment. There was nothing but the sensations in my body that were happening as I was sitting there. And all I could do was be present in the moment. I couldn't be in the past. I couldn't be in the future. It was right there in this moment at this time. And what happened is this 2.5 minute time frame that I was in the ice bath really felt like about 45 seconds. And times that I've done beyond that, I've actually experienced that at times when I've had cold exposure, maybe sitting outside in the cold and with just a swimsuit, I've experienced that 5 minutes felt like under a minute. And that's what can happen when you're sitting there in the present moment and being the observer of what is going on right now. Time no longer exists. And we can have a different experience internally than what is actually going on externally. And that's true power. That observation, that awareness is true power as leaders. And it gives us the opportunity and the ability to unlock any level of growth, any level of achievement, any level of personal freedom that we want to create in our business and in our lives. This is Mandi Ellefson from the Hands Off CEO podcast, signing off.